Whether you seek inspiration for the next project or problem solving, or you look to infuse your daily life with more spontaneity and joy, I hope that this episode will have something for you. Hello and welcome to Unbox the podcast that helps you live your best life. I'm your host, Sahar Palmer, and it gives me great pleasure to spend this time with you. Today, we're going to talk about the creative power of intuition. In the previous episodes, I've taken some time to be upfront and personal, and I shared a little bit with you about how my psychic journey into intuition has started, and how it has moved or shifted my life from the corporate world to the mystical one. Intuition is important. For me, intuition and creativity are really one and the same. It is how we express ourselves as consciousness. We're going to explore the link between creativity and intuition. Have you experienced a moment of inspired insight where ideas just flowed effortlessly, seamlessly, and they seem to pop out of thin air? This is the power of intuition at work. It's almost before you could formulate the question, an idea pops into your mind and suddenly you know what you need to do. It's this being or experiencing a sense of knowingness that guides you like a compass through the quagmire. But intuition isn't just about tapping into some mystical forces. It really is about deepening our connection to ourselves, to the world around us. The more connected you are to the environment around you, the more intuitive or easily you will be able to tap into your own intuition. I will share some practical techniques for homing in on your intuitive skills, from meditation to journaling, or just trusting your inner instincts as you embrace what seemingly is uncertain. Through real-life examples and personal anecdotes, we'll illustrate the transformative power of intuition in unleashing our creative genius. Whether you seek inspiration for the next project or problem solving, or you look to infuse your daily life with more spontaneity and joy, I hope that this episode will have something for you. Here are some examples that you can reflect on. Steve Jobs and Apple's innovation. Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple Inc., famously relied on his intuition to drive innovation. He trusted his gut instincts when making key decisions, such as the design of Apple products and the company's marketing strategies. Jobs believed that intuition was a powerful tool for unlocking creative potential and disrupting traditional industry norms. In fact, when we describe how easy it is to use an interface, we say it's intuitive. I love that. J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter author, has spoken about her idea of how Harry Potter series was developed. It was really an inspiration that she got while being on a train journey. She followed her intuition and allowed the story to unfold organically, trusting in her creative vision. Although she faced a lot of rejections at the beginning, her trust in her intuition allowed her to continue until she was successfully published. Huge success, in fact. Another example is Albert Einstein's experiments. Albert Einstein famously relied on those experiments to develop groundbreaking theories of relativity. These intuitive leaps of imagination allowed him to visualize complex scientific concepts and explore the nature of space and time. Einstein's ability to trust his intuition and to think outside the box revolutionized our understanding of the universe. What's your artistic expression? For me, consciousness is a creative expression of who we are. Many artists, musicians, and creators draw upon their intuition to fuel their creative process. whether it's improvisational jazz, following their instincts during a performance, or allowing their intuition just to flow on the canvas. Creativity often arises from a deep connection to our inner wisdom. The deeper your connection is to yourself, to your inner landscape, to your life, to your surroundings on daily basis, the stronger your intuition will be. Basically, our intuition is fed through our five senses. Are you aware of smells, tastes, what you see, what you hear? All of this goes into your brain, and your brain connects all this data to come back and solve a problem. However, you need your creativity, your brain will express it that way. Entrepreneurial success stories, for example, there are countless of them, where people have relied on their intuition in order to have successful business ventures. The intuition is used in identifying opportunities or navigating through challenges, making decisions. In a nutshell, trusting one's intuition can lead to innovations, solution, as well as sustainable growth in business. The examples I mentioned demonstrate how intuition can serve as a powerful catalyst for creativity and innovation in various fields. Intuition inspires individuals to trust their own guidance and to embrace the unknown with confidence. Once you develop your intuition, you're highly unlikely need to ask advice or question from people who are inept at giving you that advice. By exploring these real life stories, you can illustrate the transformative potential of intuition unlocking your creative genius. So, creativity and intuition are both essential aspects of human cognition. They play significant roles in personal growth, problem solving, and innovation. Here's why they're important. In problem solving, creativity enables us to approach the problem from a fresh perspective, leading to innovative solutions. Thinking outside the box, we can overcome obstacles and adapt to changing circumstances more effectively. What's really interesting is when you see creativity as your self-expression, it will allow you to express your thoughts, your emotions more coherently and in meaningful ways. Try art. I spoke to you about how my poetry writing started and my book writing started totally out of the blue. You just need to create the space for that, and then the content will flow. A wise person once told me it's like flushing a rusty radiator. Let all the rust come out, and then the real writing will come. So I just started journaling. I had a bunch of paper everywhere, on my desk, in my bedroom, on my living room. And whenever I got the inkling, I voiced it out in writing on paper. I literally let the rust kind of flush. And then suddenly ideas started getting more organized, more coherent, more complete, that I was able to write a poem or an article. Try it and let me know. It is really as simple as that. And I want you to remember that creativity drives progress and innovation in all areas of our lives, from science to technology to business to the arts. This is where your intuition can truly come through. What about your emotional well-being? Engaging in creative activities can really have a therapeutic effect. No matter what happens in the world, you still have your quality time where you have a creative process, not an activity, not just an activity, but literally a creative process. Creativity provides an outlet for self-expression. I often ask clients, who are you? And they describe their jobs rather than who they truly are, what they are about. So I'm asking you, who are you? What is your creative expression? It's nothing to do with how talented or skilled you are at a creative ability. It's more to do with how often you engage with that activity in order to really have a feel of what is your true self-expression. It can start with a creative hobby, And I urge you to do so because your brain learns as you create. It will learn about perspective. It will learn about the material, the processes that you need, and how you manifest something from an idea to a physical thing, whether it's a painting, a song, a poem, or a book. It is such an essential aspect of our personal growth that really, if you have no creative, intuitive abilities, life does seem boring. Creativity can also allow you to collaborate with other people. It gives you not only the platform but the opportunity to co-create, to collaborate, to be in synergy so that you can have a better outcome. Personal growth, your intuition, connects you with your inner wisdom and what I call the real you, your authentic self. That's what makes you different from someone else, the way you express something. What about interpersonal relationships? Intuition can help you navigate social interactions and relationships by providing insights into other people's thoughts, feelings, and intention. Tuning into your intuition will enhance your communication ability. In the end, you'll have better relationships with other people. Very often we say, for some reason, I don't like him or her, or I don't feel comfortable trusting him or her. That is your intuition. The more you practice your creativity, the more intuitive you will become. Trust me, I didn't ask for this to happen. It simply unfolded over weeks, days, weeks, months, and years, and I always observed with fascination. I was such a shy child. I mean, in Arabic we say you'd kill me and I wouldn't bleed because I was so shy. But actually, it was something in my favor because it allowed me to observe patterns. And I was always obsessed with patterns. As an early teenager, I used to spend a lot of time on the rooftop of our home observing the night sky. I used to sit next to the external unit of the central AC and just watch the stars go around. The skies were really clear, absolutely clear in Kuwait, and I just became fascinated and I really enjoyed looking and noticing how the stars and the skies changed over the days and the seasons. I observed how the patterns changed, if you will. Of course, now I find the language for describing that. But back then, I remember my father used to always say, look to nature to know where you are. And later, when I was at university, I began by studying civil engineering and I took a surveying course, and my father was a master surveyor. And he used to always say, forget equipment, get your bearings from nature. And when we would be at the beach, he would point where the sun was, east, north, south, west, and so on, so that when we're driving, I could figure out intuitively where we are if I figured out where the sun is rising from or where it's setting from, and so on. I just found it really fascinating how everything he did was in tune with nature. Really think about it. If you have a different perspective on life, like looking down on life as if you were amongst the stars, then you'd see your life, your movie, differently. Not just geographically differently, but geography does have a lot to do with it because we are a product of our environment. So whatever your brain takes in as stimulus, as information, according to wherever you're growing up, and then you move, that contrast will create new connection, new neural connection, and then your brain will have a different perspective as well. And that process can be, I nearly said disturbing because it was, I moved so much in my life, but I think that's a generational issue, that it's hard to know where home is. Home is a place in the heart, especially with whatever is going on in the world right now. And Rafah, but let's talk about inspiration. Being shy allowed me to tap into my intuition by observing more than reacting. And observing nature allowed me to see the bigger patterns, the bigger picture of how there is seasonality to everything. Everything that we're going through, whether it's a crisis, economic, technical innovation, or whatever it is. That's how I see it, or that is how my experience with it was. But the point is, it all begins with what you can observe. And make notes, because your perspective can shift, and later on you will have another view or perspective on whatever it is, and you will only know once you refer back to your old notes. At the very least, writing will give you a creative chance, or a chance to look at your perspective creatively. We often forget what we whinge about. So when I'm writing my journal, I often forget about a difficult time that I went through. And then by looking at my notes, I'm like, oh my God, I spent that much time thinking about this issue. Or is this really how I used to feel? So it's like a companion, particularly if you move from one place to another. You're lonely. I'm never lonely. I love my own company. But I found company in being creative, in creating an article, a poem, or writing in a journal. I picked up these skills really early on. And I think what encouraged me is both parents. My mom was always doing something, always learning something new. And my dad, to him, logic and intuition were the same. I remember, for example, I had in a class in middle school, I had to make I can't find the right word, an illustration. I had to draw an illustration and explain it to the class about a certain thing that we were learning. And I was terrified because I didn't think of myself as an artist. And my father said, you don't have to be. And he took that piece of paper and he divided it into squares. And he said, and he divided the picture that I had to draw into squares. And he said, look at it as copying the contents of each square from the small paper to the bigger one. And I did that. And to my surprise, he was demonstrating it at 2. And that's the first time I see my dad drawing like that. And that stunned me. Creativity can be easy, and there is a lot of logic to it. Even now, years later, when I do a reading, it's really my engineering background that allows me to ground what I want to say to a client, to develop the reading, or reading the tarot cards in such a way that it is logical, that there is a progression, that there is a story to be told, and a conclusion that you can walk away with. No experience is ever a waste of your time or of your life. You just have to be observant enough, aware enough to see the patterns that are building, forming in your life, and then you'll know where your life and your purpose, where your life is going, and where your purpose, your life purpose, lies. I hope that this has inspired you to look at your life differently. I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a comment if you're listening to this on YouTube, or email me if you're listening from your favorite podcast platform. And remember, leave me a review and subscribe. This is Sahar Hunaidi Palmer, wishing you a fabulous week full of freedom and joy, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye for now.